Welcome to Mac Geek Gab, folks. And today, our quick tip of the week comes from PC Unix in our Discord. He says, a small tip I wish I'd thought of years ago. I made a notes folder called Where Did I Put It? And he puts pictures in that folder of things that he has put in drawers. Like he has, clips for the shades, and he takes a picture of the open drawer that they are in and then closes the drawer, puts that note there, and he labels it with what the thing is in notes. And so now when he puts things in a safe place and years later he wants to find it, he can find it. More tips like this, plus your questions answered today on Mac Geek Gab 987 for Monday, June 19th, 2023. Greetings, folks, and welcome to Mac Geek Gab, the show where you send in your tips like that, cool stuff found, your questions. We answer your questions. We share your tips, your cool stuff found. We share some tips of our own. Sometimes we even answer questions. We ask questions of our own, hopefully being answered by the community, because that's what this show is all about. All of us helping each other. Sponsors for this episode include piavpn.com/MGG. That's where you go to get 82% off your VPN service plus 4 free months on a 2-year plan. And Kolide with a KOLIDE.com/MGG. Zero trust security, tailor-made for Okta. We'll talk more about both of those in a minute here. For now, we need to get to this agenda so that we can each learn at least 5 new things. And intending on learning at least 5 new things here in Durham, New Hampshire, I'm Dave Hamilton.
And here, with my mic off mute, in Paris. Bonjour, everybody.
Say your name again, because I had you muted as well. So.
Oh, there you go. And here, well, I unmuted myself, but Dave won't let me talk all the time. So, so here I am, Pilot Pete. Greetings from Paris.
Pirate Pete. Oh, Pirate Pete. This is gonna stick.
I was trying to say Paris, and I just need to stop.
Yeah.
So, but I'm stoked.
Yeah. I don't know. It's getting
stoked.
better.
I love it at this layover in Paris. Going to do Singapore later this week, and then a few days in Liège, Belgium. Actually, Maastricht, Netherlands, with my family.
Nice.
Coming over to visit. Yeah.
That's cool.
Europe in the springtime. It's a good place to be.
Yeah.
Actually, it'll be summer when they get here. Dang. It's coming.
Oh,
21st.
right. Yes, that's just a few days away. Yep. Yeah. All right. Well, let's get to some quick tips. I need to figure out. I built a new Keyboard Maestro macro to archive notes. When a question is done, because we're using the Notes app, and I never tested it up here in the studio. I thought it would sync up, but no, it did not. So I need to figure that out. But anyway, let's continue with the quick tips, ma'am. Both of us today. Pirate Pete. Pirate Pete. And I don't know who I am today.
Yes.
Yeah. So. Anyway, Rob shares a tip he stumbled across. He says, I thought this was fairly obvious, but I heard on another tech podcast asking if there was a way of keeping messages and photos of a message thread when switching phone numbers or emails for that contact. He says, because if you try to message a number or an email from contacts, it starts a new thread. The old one's still there, but it can get lost or deleted over time. The solution is from the iPhone, and you can do this from the Mac, but on the iPhone, he says, add or make sure the new phone number or email is added to the same contact. Second, leave the Contacts app and go to Messages and to the message thread you would like to change. And then third, tap the name at the top of the message and then tap the info tile. Now long press on a message bubble and select the new phone number or email you would like to use. Okay, so I'm going to say this again. Go into Messages to the thread that you want to change. And then you tap the person's name, and then tap the info tile, the little info thing, and then long press on the messaging bubble and select the new phone number or email you would like to use. He says this keeps all the history and photos of a message for that contact to one thread. I've done this many times, and it works to switch from phone to email or the other way around. It also works if the contact switches to Android with a different number. All previous photos and messages remain available. So this is interesting. I've certainly experienced this before. Rob's not wrong. But it sometimes does this automatically. In fact, this week, Pete, you texted me from a number that I had never seen you text from. And I knew it. It told me it was you because it was like this person shared their contact information with you, you know, that little bubble on the top. And I was like, okay, so this is Pete. And the message was, it was clearly you. And so I was like, oh, all right. And so I just went in and to this new phone number that's there up in the top, I clicked on the number. I said add to contacts, and then I chose existing contact instead of new contact. And this was on my Mac. I did this, by the way.
Right.
And I said add it to the Pilot Pete contact. And then immediately it merged the two threads. So that messages will merge them. This was messages on Ventura on my Mac down in the studio for anybody, you know, if there are nuances between, say, Monterey and Ventura or whatever. But that did work. It just all the messages were then together and merged and happy and all that good stuff.
I know what happened.
Okay.
That is my data SIM that I used for Europe. So that's a Hong Kong number that you saw.
So you have a data SIM with a number, which is not always the case.
Right. Which I didn't realize I had, but let me tell you, I then at some point, so I wouldn't inadvertently get charged on my Mint Mobile.
Yeah.
Said, we'll make that my default voice number, and boy, did things go to
you don't do that.
No.
Don't do that.
Because it wouldn't let me text anybody. It wouldn't let me receive texts and all that. Fortunately, I had a WhatsApp as a backup, but it went crazy. And I finally got it all sorted out and sent it back to the way it was. But it made my life particularly difficult for a little while. And there was some other point I wanted to bring up there. So don't get old. It's bad for your memory.
Yeah. So, okay. So that's good to know. Like from my standpoint, I probably should remove that number from your account.
I'm not going to be sending to that number from that number anymore.
Yeah, and if I wind up sending to it, you won't get it.
Right.
So,
right. And that was my other point.
Wait.
I might.
You might, because that number is now attached to your iCloud account in Apple's system. So if I send to it as an iMessage, you'll probably get it for a while.
Oh, no, it's not. I pulled it. I pulled it from Apple.
Okay.
I did. Yeah, I did not want that in there. But that was the other point, was it's all those scoundrels out there using Android devices. I couldn't send them anything.
Correct. Yeah, exactly. Right, because you didn't have SMS service on that number.
Right.
That's interesting. All right, cool. All right, well, the mystery solved. It's good.
Yeah.
All right.
Another self-inflicted stupidity wound.
It happens. I mean, this is why we do what we do here. It's not so much stupidity. Sure, we could call it that.
Sometimes.
But
sometimes not so much, but yeah.
We're trying different things with tech, and often they don't work out exactly like in your case, right? The reason you switched to that number is because you didn't want your Mint SIM live when you were not on Wi-Fi.
Right.
And therefore would start getting charged for inbound, because Mint charges you 5 cents for every inbound and outbound SMS. So, okay, fine. Like I get, and it served its intended purpose, right? Like you did that. However, it had a ripple effect. And, we can't always, this is really, truly, this epitomizes perhaps my favorite thing about what we do here on this show is we teach each other about these ripple effects, right? And it's handy to know, like in the back of your head, like, wait. If I do that, I heard about this, or Pete shared, or, somebody shared. And so it's like, oh, maybe I don't want to do it. And so the next time that you're in that scenario, the right thing to do is to turn that SIM off, the Mint SIM off during the day.
Right.
That's the key to that, is just turn it off. Or if you don't have any roaming credit on your Mint SIM, then you're fine, because it won't let those texts in anyway.
Oh, that's a very good point.
Can't charge you. But you can't just you can't tell Mint, don't pretend I don't have any roaming credit if you do. So turning it off is the key.
And you can turn it, even if I leave Mint on, I think you can go in and put cellular data on that other line and say don't allow automatic switching.
Correct, but that won't change SMS or phone calls because that's not cellular data. So if you want to avoid the SMSs, you just turn the SIM off until you get back to Wi-Fi, because Mint, like most carriers, but it's worth checking with your carrier, Mint, when you're not in the US, if you are on Wi-Fi and have Wi-Fi calling enabled, you will get your SMSs and phone calls over Wi-Fi, and you get that comes in for no charge, no additional charge. Like there's no roaming charge for that. So yeah. All right. That was good. Like this is what we do, All right. I mean, it's a 7-minute quick tip, but whatever.
Yeah, we're in.
It was a good one. Neal shares, he says, a quick tip which might be known to everyone, but I just discovered. No, Neal, I learned this from you this week. On Ventura, and I think this happens in other operating systems, when I open a print dialog, the button that says PDF, which allows you to open a drop-down menu to save the print job as a PDF or save PostScript or to mail or web receipts or whatever else you put in there, he says, seems to have a feature I never noticed before. If you click on, instead of clicking the drop-down, if you simply click the word PDF in that drop-down menu, treat it like a button instead of a menu, it will jump automatically to the save as PDF dialog, saving a step. Not the biggest quick tip in the world, he says, but he says, since I print to PDF a lot, helpful. I agree with you, Neal. I think that's a great tip to use.
That is. And then I've got one to add to that for those that are not. So that one you need to use your mouse and click on it. The GUI, you have to use the GUI. I'm a huge keyboard shortcut guy. Makes my life go much faster. So I use this one, and I set it up. It's slightly different in Ventura than in Monterey in previous editions, but all credit to Sparky, Mac Sparky, David Sparks, for this quick tip. I use Command PP. So I hold down the Command key, and I hit PP, and it brings up my Save as PDF dialog. The quick way to set it up is System Settings, Keyboard Shortcuts, App Shortcuts, All Applications. And in the menu title window, you have to type Save as PDF. And you have to do that exactly as it appears in that menu item, or it won't work. So it's capital S, save as, capital PD, capital D, capital F, and then the ellipsis. And the way to get the ellipsis is the Option key and the semicolon. Because if you just type 3 periods, it doesn't. Sometimes it's smart enough, sometimes it's not.
Option semicolon. I learned a thing. Okay.
There you go. That's how you get your ellipsis. And then when you save out of that, all you have to do is hit Command PP, and it brings you immediately to the Save as PDF dialog without having to move your mouse around the board. The reason,
what Pete's describing is the, like he said, in either system settings or preferences, in keyboard shortcuts, app shortcuts, you can create your own keyboard shortcuts for any item that appears in any menu. And so when you are in an app, Command P brings you to the print dialog, as I think most of us probably know. What Pete is doing is adding a menu shortcut for this new menu that appears in the print dialog and assigning that also to Command P so that he doesn't have to do anything different. He just says Command P. The first time he does Command P, it brings up the print dialog. The second time he does Command P while the print dialog is up, it chooses Save as PDF. And you could do this with anything. Like I have that same shortcut set to our PDF. We have an Apple script that we wrote that puts that PDF into notes as a PDF, and then that's what we share here. And by the way, my other script is working now. I got it working, so I can archive notes. Yeah, it's great.
There you go. Yeah, so you could get it to save as postscript or anything like that.
You can choose whatever you want.
Whichever menu selection, correct. Yeah.
And I added a second one there to mail a PDF. So I can do Command P, Command M, and it now mails that PDF. Because whatever's in that menu, you can do. And again, this isn't limited to the PDF dialog, or the print dialog, rather. Anything in any menu that you use a lot that doesn't have a menu shortcut, you can add one in System Preferences or Settings, Keyboard Shortcuts, App Shortcuts. So that's the key there. So yeah, hopefully that's helpful. Yeah, man.
Yeah.
All right, let's. Larry These are the weirdest, like the least quick tips we've ever had. But it's fine. It's not your fault. I'm the one that built today's agenda.
I'm helping stretch this out.
Well, fair. That's what we do. Larry shared he was having trouble sending pictures to Android people via messages, meaning his MMS was not working, right? The multimedia, whatever it is. I don't know. I forget what MMS stands for. Somebody will tell me. But, he could send SMSs to them, but anytime he sent a picture, it would, he'd get the little red, dot that said it couldn't send. Fine. He did all the things. He went in and made sure that SMS and MMS were turned on in settings messages on his phone, like all of this stuff still wasn't working. He said he finally was able to get it to work this morning. He says, I first called up Apple and they asked me to check my Wi-Fi settings. I have 2 Wi-Fi networks at my home, blah, blah, blah. And that didn't work. He says, then I got sick of dealing with Apple tech support and I went to the Verizon store. Immediately, the guy seemed to know what the issue was and that I needed and here's the term. I can't Google and find this term, folks, by the way, but he said the guy told him I needed a network sync. He said that it solves a lot of problems with iPhone to Android issues, so it's something to keep in mind. He said, just call up Verizon tech support and ask for a network sync. There's probably another term that will show up on the Googles that this is actually, but for now, calling Verizon tech, if you're having these problems, calling Verizon tech support and asking for network sync might not be a bad thing to do once a year, sort of as a matter of course, if you're a Verizon customer. Yeah, I don't know. Like I've never heard of this before.
And I bet the different carriers call it different things because it would be too easy to call it the same.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But like, I know that there is a way, like when I was with AT&T, they would occasionally tell me I needed to download the new version of their profile. And they said the way to do it was to go into settings, general, general about, and scroll down to the part where you see the details about your SIM or your eSIM. And by going down there, it would like refresh something. And when AT&T would text me and tell me to do this, I would go do it. And then on that screen, once I got down that far, I would get like a little dialogue that popped up that said, restart to apply the new, settings or whatever. And I was like, okay. Like it was completely... Like there was nothing to do other than sort of scroll through this, the about screen, but that worked. So maybe that's the same thing. I don't know. But like that's also something that's just worth knowing that works with some carriers. It definitely was a thing with AT&T. So if you know stuff like this, weird things that are like, don't seem to make any sense, but actually do have results, feedback at MacGeekGab.com. We'd love to hear from you.
Whoa. Where? Feedback at MacGeekGab.com?
That's what we said. Feedback at MacGeekGab.com, man. Unless you're a premium subscriber, in which case you get to use premium at MacGeekGab.com. And you can learn more about that at MacGeekGab.com/premium. I was on a Zoom call with one of the folks that works for me. I was actually doing some, I put out a TikTok video with a quick tip this week. I think I'm going to start doing more of those because it's a great way to sort of show things. And I'm not a TikTok expert, but thankfully I have people who work for me who are. And so both Sadie and Skylar, my daughter, showed me all kinds of things to make my video that I had created into something that appeared at home on TikTok, which is great. But it was like, I want to share my screen with you. And so the first time I was on a call, I was like, I know how to share the iPhone screen. And I did the whole dance where you launch QuickTime Player, you create a new movie, you you connect your iPhone first via, I did this out of order. You connect your iPhone via USB, Lightning, whatever. And then launch QuickTime Player, create a new movie, and choose your iPhone screen as the camera from the little drop-down thing. That's just how this works. And it was great. Like it worked, and then I shared that screen in Zoom. It was like, yep, there it is. I could do everything I needed to do. It was awesome. And then later in the day, I went to do the same thing, and I saw right there in Zoom screen share that you could share your iPhone screen either using a USB cable, like I was doing with the extra step of QuickTime Player, or AirPlay. So I learned a thing. And now you get to do it too, because it's right there. Zoom screen sharing window it's just cluttered with everything it could possibly share. Yeah, there it is, the sound. It's cluttered with everything. And so I give myself a half of a pass for not just knowing it was there. But that's the beauty of this stuff, is sometimes just knowing it's there is the key. Yeah. So, yep.
Hey, Dave, as long as we're on quick tips, can I throw one in? It's not on the agenda, and I promise less than 30 seconds. I told you pre-show, I terrified myself. Last week we shared in Cool Stuff Found keyboard clean tool. I like to clean my screen with a dark screen. So I used keyboard clean tool, locked out my keypad, went on my trackpad, went into displays, turned the brightness all the way down, and cleaned my laptop, and then went, uh-oh.
Yeah,
I have no idea where the mouse is and how to turn the brightness back up. The quick tip is no. Go ahead.
Oh yeah. Wait. Let me.
Your trackpad works.
Yes.
It doesn't lock out your trackpad. It locks out your keyboard.
Okay.
So I went into system settings and I went to displays and I turned the brightness all the way down. So I had a nice black screen and I could clean the keyboard and the screen with my alcohol wipes that are special for glass and all that. And then I had no way to turn my brightness back up because I didn't know where my mouse was.
Yeah. So
and you can't use your keys because they're locked.
Because they're turned off.
Yeah. So the quick tip is press and hold your power button for about 15 seconds. The machine will power down, and when it powers back up, keyboard clean tool is disabled, and you can use your keys again. So self-inflicted stupidity wound, sent a shot of terror because I'm thinking, well, I'm not going to be able to record Mac Geek Gab later today because my computer's going to be locked, and the battery won't die for about a week on these MacBook Air M2s.
Especially with the screen off. I was just trying to think, like, what would you normally do, but your laptop has brightness keys on it, right? Like if you didn't have brightness keys, then it would be a problem.
Like if it had the touchpad, I think maybe the touchpad may work to bring your brightness back up. But yeah, but the brightness keys were just as disabled as every other key.
So yeah, I have some thoughts about this. Okay. Kiwi Graham at macgeekgab.com/Discord while we're recording this shares, could you have used Siri to do it if you had Siri enabled on your laptop? So probably, right? That's one way.
Yeah, I don't know if I have her listening or not. I think I have it double pump the control button, so that wouldn't have worked. But that wouldn't have worked. If she'd have been listeing,
maybe. I don't know. Maybe that would be one thing. The other thing, I mean, these are just ideas that are coming to mind, would be if you had VNC, like remote screen sharing turned on your Mac, and you ran like screens on your iPhone. You could see your screen because your screen's not off. It's just It's just not bright. So there's that. You could also. I'm trying to think. Like, yeah, I guess that's it. Really, we need the folks at Fulivora who make keyboard clean tool or screen tool or whatever it's called, and also make touch bar the touch bar tool.
Better touch tool.
Better tool. That's it. What we need is for them to put this functionality in that app where it's like set my screen to dim my screen for 90 seconds and then bring it back up to full brightness.
There you go. Right? Are you listening, guys? That'd be awesome.
Right? That would be the way.
That'd be one way to do it. Or to say, if you screw this up, just hold the power button.
Just hold the power button. Yeah. But I feel like that wouldn't be a difficult thing for them to add to the app. You could write an Apple script that brings or ChatGPT could help you.
I was going to say with the help of Mac GPT, I could.
Correct. But yeah, you could like an Apple script could bring the brightness back up. Keyboard Maestro can bring the brightness back up. So you could create a macro in Keyboard Maestro or an Apple script that says wait 90 seconds and then bring the brightness to full.
Yeah, take it down, wait 90, bring it up.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, let it do the whole shooting match for you. So like, but again, all of these require advanced planning.
Yes, which I had none.
Which you didn't do.
None.
Right. Ripple effects are the ripple effects. The theme here.
And Tennessee Papa says you can shine a flashlight on the screen and see the cursor. Oh no, you can't.
Yes. Oh, I was thinking that because
I tried.
Okay.
At least, well, yeah. My iPhone flashlight wasn't bright enough. I thought
it was there. Yeah, I thought it was there.
It was more
backlit.
Reflective than anything else.
That makes sense.
And so,
you might be better off not shining a light on the screen, but turning the ambient light down and seeing.
No, I was in a dark room. It was. I tried.
Okay.
Well, fortunately, I only tried for about 3 minutes before I went. Well, you know what? I'm just going to hold the power button and see what happens.
Speaking of 3 minutes, this is our
30-second tip.
30-second quick tip has taken 5 now. 5 minutes. Yep. It's what we do. So Rod sent in a quick tip. We've been talking a lot about different ways of cleaning up audio and the whole voice isolation thing that you can do on the Mac and the all of that stuff. And Rod says that while you're on a call on your iPhone, you can go into Control Center and select mic mode and then switch from standard to voice isolation to mute and suppress background noise picked up by your iPhone's mic during a call. And there is an article about this, and we'll link to that from the show notes, a keyboard, a knowledge base article about it and how to do it. But the trick is it only shows up during the call. You can't turn it on when you're not in a call. And I think he did it with his AirPods. So it works with a variety of microphones, I believe. But I believe that whatever you set it to sticks and persists.
That was my question. Good, that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I use those vacuum pack bags to get everything into a tiny suitcase.
Yeah.
And when I'm doing that on a phone call with my AirPods in, everyone's like, "What are you doing? You're crunching rocks with your teeth." Or no.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
So hopefully that would be something to look at.
Cool. Are those vacuum pack bags are helpful for travel?
They are. And I'll see if I can get you. I saw you put it in the show notes. I'll see if I can find it. I get them at Walmart. I get them at Amazon.
Sure.
That sort of thing. And they're really nice. Essentially, I put my clothes in the vacuum pack bag, seal it up. And there's 2 different kinds. Some have the valve on them. Some you just roll it until you squeeze all the air out.
Okay.
But it makes it so much smaller. It'll take what's normally 5 or 6 inches and it takes it right down to a heavy vacuum pack.
Yeah.
And
so the only drawback to these would be this is great if you are packing into a carry-on. If you're packing into a checked bag, this is an easy way to ensure you go over your weight limit. Right. Yeah. But for packing into a carry-on and perhaps avoiding the need for a checked bag, this is a great idea. Yeah. And because of what you do, you basically have to avoid checking a bag. So,
I'm on a 2-week trip in a 24-inch bag, carry-on bag.
That's amazing, man.
Yeah. So
that's I feel like we need an episode of So There I Was where you and Fig share all your packing tips.
Oh, there you go.
Seriously.
Yeah,
like that would be
something to think about.
Like the things that are obvious to you, it's just like what we do here. Like, know, these quick tips, every one of them is obvious to some segment of this audience. It might be, you or me, we might have already known about it. It's the things that if you already know, it's obvious. But if you don't know, it's voodoo. And when you shared this, it was like, when I saw you doing this in Vegas, it was like, oh, I see the value of this now.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So.
Yeah. But I also do it alone because when I have to use that vacuum pack with the valve and I have to suck the air out with my mouth, I don't do that in public.
You're not going to do a YouTube video showing us how it works, Pete? Okay. Saurabh shared in Discord, I finally figured out something in the macOS Mail app that I've been stumped by for a while. In most Mac native apps like the Finder, you can use Option and the up key or the down key to navigate to the topmost or bottommost item in a list. However, which is its own quick tip because I had forgot. If I knew that, I forgot it. So now I know how to get to the top and the bottom of a list in Finder. So that's Option up and down. So thank you for that, Saurabh. He says, but that's never worked in Mail. Instead, I figured out that you need to do Command and Option and then up or down to go to the top or the bottom of a mail list. And he says, I don't know why Mail app diverges from the standard keyboard shortcuts here, but it does. So thank you for both of those tips, Rob. Saurabh, my apologies. And we just had Rob and Rod, and man. Whew.
Yeah. Ours. It's the R day.
And you have something to add to Saurabh's tip,
A quick action to that as well is to hold your Option key down if you have a email with a string. In other words, several emails back and forth. If you hold down the Option key and tap the up or down arrow, then you quickly move to each separate email.
That's why you need Command Option. You answered Saurabh's question.
Yes.
Because he was like, I don't know why Mail is different. Mail's different because you're using it to navigate within a thread. Right. With the Option key, and if you want to navigate outside of threads, even if you're not in a thread, you have to add Command to it. Okay.
And I stumbled across that trying to figure out what he was telling me.
Yes.
Oh, I forgot to Command.
Oh, so this isn't something you knew. You just found it.
I was trying to look. Nice. I was looking at the email going, how does this work? And I didn't hit Command. I just had Option. And I'm going, it's just going through the different emails in that thread.
Yeah. I like it. All right. And that's only if you're using the threaded view, which I believe is the default in Mail these days. Listen, I'm having an existential crisis here. I don't have a lot to share about it other than I think we referenced it in last week's episode that Mac OS Sonoma, at least the first beta, the Mail app in that does not load extensions. So Mail extensions are likely dead for Sonoma. That means that my beloved small cubed Mail suite is dead come Sonoma time. So they have, I believe they call it Mail Maven. They have been working on a Mail app that includes all of the functionality that their plugins add. I'm sure I've said on this show that I never want to use anything other than a first-party Mail app, because if I get, entrenched in an app that's written by one developer or two developers or whatever, then
it goes away.
And it goes away, as they often do, or when small developers small teams or single developers write a Mail app, they write it for themselves. And this is not like I've said, and I believe I'm correct, that I know more about how Steve Dorner's brain works than most other humans. And I've never met Steve Dorner, but Steve Dorner wrote Eudora, the Mail client that I used early on when it was the only Mail client to use. But I had to learn how Steve Dorner used a Mail client, and then I got to use the same Mail client, right? And then when I switched to Mailsmith, which was written by Rich Siegel, and I believe he still maintains it, I got to learn more about how Rich Siegel's brain worked than I ever, and I do know Rich in person, but like you get a very, and I'll use the word myopic, but it's not in a negative way. You get a singular vision on how a Mail app could work, and then that person brings that vision to life. I've loved the fact that Mail is extensible, and I can have this sort of generic Mail client that is guaranteed to work at the day of release of any Mac OS update because it's written by Apple. And then what's sometimes not available on day of release are the plugins that I would add to Mail to add the little functionality that I want. But I'm so reliant on some of these plugins like Signature Profiler to pick signatures per email addresses, not just per email accounts, and the outbox rules, which is amazing. Like when I reply from feedback@macgeekgab.com, it looks at the message in the outbox and decides whether it needs to add the CC back to feedback@macgeekgab.com so Pete can see it, and like all of these things that are just
I don't reply. Yeah. You just, it makes it smart for groups.
You see, right. It's like super, and it's super flexible, and I'm very reliant on it. So like Mail Maven might in fact be the right app for me, but I don't know. And I'm going to spend some time this summer messing around with, the different Mail apps. There's Spark and there's a lot of others. So stay tuned on that. If you have a favorite third-party Mail app, share feedback@macgeekgab.com. We'd like to know. Meanwhile, we got two more quick tips to round out the first, 45 minutes of the show.
Going quick.
Pensacola. Yeah, we're just cooking along. Pensacola Craig says if you liked the macOS OG style system report breakdown of your Mac, it is still available in Ventura and Sonoma. The way you get to this, there's several ways to get to this, but the way you get to this is click the Apple menu with the Option key held down, and system information will appear right there. This is one we've shared many times before, but it's always worth a reshare. So if you want that detailed system information report, hold down Option, click on the Apple menu, and choose System Information. And you can even watch, while you have the Apple menu down, you can even watch About This Mac change to System Information when you press and depress the Option key. And then one last quick tip, which is really a correction from something we mentioned last week. I'm going to let Louis, share this.
Hey guys, this is Louis Block, Block Tech. I sent the tip in this week's show, 986, about the iFrameX Kickstarter project. And just a quick correction, you mentioned how expensive it was, and actually that number is in Hong Kong dollars. So at $379 Hong Kong dollars, that's actually closer to $48 in US dollars. So I hope that helps make a decision. For me, that was a low enough number to take a chance on. Anyway, hope that helps. Thanks.
Thanks, Louis. Thank you so much.
I got caught by that once. Yeah. I was buying some software from a guy in this store in Hong Kong.
Sure.
And so I think it was PDF pen is what I was buying. And it was, I don't know, $80 or $90, something like that. And I gave him the money, and he gave me most of it back. Oh no, Hong Kong dollars. It was like $7. I went, oh, okay. This is probably not PDF pen authorized.
All right, look, you know, because you listen to the show, that your ISP knows literally everything you do online. They can. It's true. You might as well be handing your laptop to a stranger and opening up your browsing history and just walking away while they sniff around. That's why it's a great idea to have a VPN when you go online. And I get to tell you about our sponsor today, which is one of the best VPNs out there. It's the one I chose. It's the one I paid for before they became a sponsor. And that's PIA. PIA stands for Private Internet Access, and they take privacy seriously. Not only does PIA hide my IP address, it encrypts my entire connection, and of course it'll do the same for you. And they're super transparent at PIA. They never record or store user data, and their no logs policy has even been verified in court. It's available for all platforms across all your devices, and you get endless entertainment options too. Not only does PIA work with all the major streaming services, but it's one of the few VPNs that supports P2P file sharing, so you can download just about anything. And you can get it too right now. Go to piavpn.com/MGG to get a whopping 83% off your VPN service. Plus, 4 free months with a 2-year plan. It comes out to around $2 a month. You can't beat that. And there's a 30-day money-back guarantee. That's piavpn.com/MGG for 83% off private internet access. piavpn.com/MGG. And our thanks to PIA for sponsoring this episode. Next up is our sponsor, Kolide, and they've got some big news. If you're an Okta user, they can get your entire fleet to 100% compliance. I know. How do they do this? Well, if a device isn't compliant, the user can't log into your cloud apps until they fix the problem. It's that simple. Kolide patches one of the major holes in zero trust architecture, device compliance. Without Kolide, IT struggles to solve basic problems like keeping everyone's OS and browser up to date. Then, unsecured devices are logging into your company's apps because there's nothing there to stop them. Kolide is the only device trust solution that enforces compliance as part of authentication, and it's built to work seamlessly with Okta. The moment Kolide's agent detects a problem, it alerts the user and gives them instructions to fix it. It's trying to help here, right? It's fantastic. There's education involved in this. Everybody's on board. And then if they don't fix the problem within a set time, they're blocked. Kolide's method means fewer support tickets, less frustration, and most importantly, 100% fleet compliance. Visit kolide.com/MGG to learn more or book a demo. That's KOLIDE.com/MGG. And our thanks to Kolide for sponsoring this episode. All right, Pete, we spent every quick tip we did took about 14 minutes each. So let's save some time and answer some questions, shall we?
We can do that. So the first question, excuse me, this week came in from Paul. He says, when I create a calendar event, I typically go to month view and then select date and then go into create. But I use the list view instead of the hour view for daily views. I also tend to scroll when I select the date, so I have it 1 to 2 inches from the top of my phone. So if I scroll at all, a different date is at the top of the screen. For example, this means that I add an event on Sunday instead of Tuesday. Do you have any suggestions on how to add items to an iPhone in Calendar app to be less likely to give you the wrong date when creating new events like doctor's appointments? And I wrote back, my favorite method is to say, hey, yes, lady, create an event on Pete's calendar. Be sure to tell her which calendar, because I have several. On Friday, June 16th at 10 a.m. to go to macgeekgab.com/Discord and listen to the Mac Geek Gab with all the other Mac Geek Gab listeners. And she usually does a pretty good job of creating that event. Never misses on the date, but then occasionally you have to go in and edit it from there. But you're going to get very close by using the S Lady. She does a nice job of creating calendar events. Start at 10, end at 11.
Yeah.
Invite others. She'll do all that for you.
Huh. I like that. Yeah. Yeah. That's I have experienced the same thing that Paul describes. And it happens not just in Apple's calendar app, it happens in BusyCal, which is the one I also use on iPhone. Mm-hmm. And I've just learned to make sure that I go to either the week view, not the scrolling view, but the sort of horizontal view that's either week view or month view, and tap on the day. And then that sort of selects the day, even though there's multiple days on the screen. And that works better for me when I'm scheduling events, because I know that it's going to put it on the right day.
Right.
Yeah. Interesting. I mentioned
questions answered quicker than the quick tips.
Yeah, no, this is great. Yeah, all right. We'll save the mail thing. There's some mail conversation happening in the chat. I've acknowledged it. Porthos John says I was talking about, of course, my Apple script that I wrote this week for notes to archive things. And Porthos John says, yeah, I do the same thing in mail. He uses Spark email, and he says I hit Shift-Command-Enter to send an email. And when I do that, it sends the reply and archives the original, which is kind of nice. And then I wasn't sure what email client he was talking about. I'm like, are you doing that with AppleScript? And he says, no, but I could. Either AppleScript or shortcuts can interface with mail. And I thought, I've never used shortcuts for it in mail. I've never used shortcuts for mail. I've used AppleScript in mail, but it's been a long time. But it makes me wonder if maybe my world is better like writing a series of AppleScripts to use in mail instead of moving to a third-party email client. I don't know. Like I'm this is, like I said, existential crisis.
Yeah.
In the meantime, sorry, Pete, go ahead.
No, this is bad. This is not a good thing.
It's just going to change things. It's, but I need to find a path. Like, I am so reliant on being efficient with email that I need to find a way to continue to be able to be efficient with email. That's really like the meta problem to solve here.
Right. Well, just for what it's worth, I use Canary on one of my accounts, and I think that's in SetApp. I think that's where I got it. Canary Mail. Canary.
All right. Yeah. Well, we got it. I'll start a thread on in our Mac Geek Gab Discord about mail apps.
It needs it.
We need it. Yeah, we need it. Yep. Steve has our next question for us about network drives. He asked, do you have a recommendation as to the best way to auto mount my network drives every time I log in or turn on my Mac? I see that there are a bunch of apps in the App Store, but I'm wondering if there's another way to accomplish this, either through a terminal command or system settings. So the answer is yes, and you might not want to. You certainly can run a terminal command to mount a disk, and it would be, like, I think disk-util is probably the right one to go after on that. But you're going to want to automate that somehow. so that it happens when you log in and also when your Mac wakes from sleep, because sometimes these network drives go away when being woken from sleep. The way to do it when you log in is to mount the network drive and then put an alias of it, essentially just by dragging it into the login items. And then that will, most of the time, especially if you've saved your password for it, most of the time that will do it and just log you in and you're, good to go. But if it will only do it at login, it won't do it when you, like if your Mac wakes up from sleep and has lost the network drive during sleep, which seems to happen more often than not, at least for me, for this user. And so I had to come up with another way of doing that. I wrote, I believe it was an Apple script. It might be an automator action. I can't remember. I think it's an automator action to mount the network drive that I need. And I use Keyboard Maestro to trigger that action, both at login and also whenever it notices that that particular drive is not mounted. And so if it sees that the drive's not mounted, it will try. And I have some other triggers on there, especially for my laptop, where it says, hey, if you're not on your local network at home, don't try this kind of thing, because otherwise it would alert me. Like, I tried to do this and it won't mount the drive. And it's like, yeah, I don't really want to mount it all the time when I'm, on some foreign Wi-Fi network that's slow or whatever. But those are the ways of scripting it sort of on your own, although I realize one of them uses Keyboard Maestro. The other one is to use an app like Auto Mounter from Pixel Eyes, and that's pixeleyes.co.nz. But of course, the link is in the show notes, and that is what every time we have mentioned this on the show in the past, that's the advice that we've gotten is, why are you like reinventing the wheel? Just use Auto Mounter. It does it great. So someday I might even take that advice. But, my system, it ain't broke, and it means I need one less app because I already have Keyboard Maestro, so I just do it that way. But yeah, that's kind of the key there, if you will. So, yep. All right. Speaking of having your password in the keychain, Jim had a tip for us about the keychain, the iCloud keychain. And he said, I've recently become aware of the fact that when I authorize Keychain to automatically fill in a password or credit card data on my Mac, that authorization stays, it lingers for a long time, seemingly until I reboot next. Even a couple hours later, I'm not required to reauthorize Keychain access to fill in data on a website or in an app. The more I thought about it, the more I realized that this could pose a security risk, even though it's probably minimal. Not being overly familiar with Keychain controls and settings, I did a web search of how to set the time, and I found an Apple support article that helped out. In the Keychain Access app on your Mac, click Login in the Keychains list. Choose from the Edit menu, change Settings for the Keychain login, and then click the Lock After checkbox and enter a number of minutes. If you want to require a password each time the computer goes to sleep, select the Lock When Sleeping checkbox and then hit Save. It says, I've only been using this for a day before sending you guys this email, but it seems worthwhile as a security measure. He's like, I've got it set for 15 minutes and it seems to work out okay. So yeah, I actually like that. That's
I never considered that before.
Yeah, same. Yeah, that's pretty good. So yeah, thanks for that, Jim. That's a good one. You want to take us to Gary, Pete?
I can do that. So Gary wrote in, he was having a special time with his computer. He says, I don't know if this has been an issue with Ventura or one of the latest fixes. Still, I noticed that from time to time, I will be in the middle of typing an iMessage on my Mac. Then all of a sudden, the program will close, and when I open it, I am asked to sign into my Apple ID account. When I provide my credentials, I get the spinning pinwheel screen, which never goes any further. I've tried quitting the program and starting it back up, and that doesn't fix it. The only way to get it back is to restart my whole Mac. It seems to occur every week. I notice other behaviors before it, as my keys advancing and pausing in music and Apple Music, and on my keyboard, and my keyboard will also stop working. I hope Apple fixes this in the new Mac OS version. I announced at WWDC. I wish Microsoft had their phone app in the Mac Store. Mac App Store. New eyes today, I guess, Dave, trying to read. Sorry. I wish Microsoft had their phone app in the Mac App Store, or a version I could download to stop me from going on the dark side. Stop me from going on the dark side. Gary, P.S. I checked the progress of the program after I got done typing this email, and it still hasn't moved. And I wrote him and said, look, this stuff is always frustrating. And I sent him a bunch of basic troubleshooting options, basic solutions for fixing messages, crashes on the apps, which I Googled, do some Google foo there. When you're done with the primary solutions, restart your Mac. I said, it depends. If you've got a Intel Mac, reset the PRAM or the NVRAM, the SMC, that sort of thing. That's all on the chip now, on the M1 chip and the M2 chip, so you don't do that with the newer ones.
Sure.
So some other quick troubleshooting. Force quit all apps running on the Mac. Go to the Apple logo, force quit, select all the apps, Command A, and then force quit. Check the correct date and time. Go to the Apple logo, system settings, general, date and time, and set the date and time automatically to set time zone automatically using your current location toggle. Some of this doesn't make sense to me.
What's the...
I don't know. This was my Google foo stuff that I sent to him. I'm starting to read too deep into it. Okay. And then try booting it. The other one that was good though was try booting in the safe mode. Sometimes this fixes a lot of things. For the M1 Mac, shut it down, turn it on after 20 seconds, press and hold the power button until you see the startup volumes option on the screen, and that's how you get it into the safe mode. Select the startup disk you want, and from the keyboard, continue in safe mode.
Yeah.
So the main thing here is also I sent a lot more than I probably needed to, and this is not a criticism, Gary, but it's if you tell us up front, hey, I've got an Intel Mac or I've got an M1 Mac, then I can go down one rabbit hole at a time.
Yeah. Fair.
So, but yeah, so hopefully some of these troubleshooting things got him there. And I think I said lastly, you may want to reinstall the OS, and I believe that's not on the mail version in notes, but I believe he did in fact wind up reinstalling the operating system to solve it.
Yeah, what we used to call a maintenance reinstall, where you're just reinstalling it on top of itself, so you're just putting the files back out there.
Putting all the ones and zeros in the right place.
Yeah, this seems like either a corrupted cache file or a corrupted preference file. So I'm just thinking about, like, you know, in the grand scheme of, if I were there, what would I do next?
Yeah.
And that I would log my Mac out of iCloud entirely, not just message, because its messages keeps getting logged out, right? So log messages out manually, then log my Mac out of iCloud entirely, reboot, log things back in, see if that helps, because that is going to rebuild some preference files and some cache files when you do that. If that doesn't help, then maybe, like you said, safe mode is great, because the process of booting into safe mode also clears out, it runs a lot of the maintenance stuff, which clears out a lot of those, you know, cache files and that sort of thing. If that doesn't help, run Onyx's maintenance. Yep. Yeah. So those would be the things I would jump to. But
now, when you sign out, am I correct that it's been a while since I've done that? Doesn't it ask you, do you want to save these things on your computer locally? Do you want to delete them? Generally speaking, would you want to delete them and let iCloud resync them? Making sure you had a good backup first?
Yes, exactly. With that caveat, yeah, that's fine. Although,
do you feel lucky?
It will take you longer to do that because the process of deleting things is often lengthy when you tell it to do that, like calendars especially. So I might skip that. I might tell it, no, just keep the local copies, and then it'll remerge them when it comes back. It's going to, generally does a pretty good job. Sync is hard, but Apple's gotten way better about it. I mean, I think if we rewind 10 years and listen to an episode from 10 years ago, you'll hear us ranting about how Apple's sync was not so good.
The only people that had any idea then, it seems to me, was Dropbox.
Yeah.
In the early days.
Yeah, because Dropbox was just syncing files, and I don't mean to trivialize that. But when you're syncing things like individual calendar events and contacts and like those sorts of things, it gets even trickier.
Settings. Wait a minute. You can't be bothered on the phone, but you can be bothered on the laptop.
Right.
No. I want it across all devices.
Right. So, yeah. I don't know. It's just how it goes. All right. Saurabh had another question for us I believe, in Discord. And I think we're all going to learn something from this. My guess is you folks are going to have things to send to us too. Saurabh asked, can anyone recommend a product or service that allows me or you to make phone calls from a device that has Wi-Fi but does not have a SIM card enabled and therefore no Wi-Fi calling? Ideally something where you can pay once to make the call. He says, I recently ran into an issue with the eSIM pin on my iPhone where I guess I entered the wrong SIM pin too many times and my SIM card got blocked and needed some PUK code from AT&T to reset it. They eventually gave it to me, but it was kind of an issue. And Rod in Discord replied with, my first thought was Skype, because Skype can do this, and you can launch Skype on your phone, and you can use Skype calling and pay for minutes and get a phone number and if you want, and all of that stuff, right? It can work great. Rod suggested a service called MySudo, MySudo.com. And of course, there's a link in the show notes for this. And MySudo, it's a pretty cool service in that you pay a fairly trivial amount. I think it's like $10 a year. And they have a lot of different features. There's a free plan where you can get some email addresses from them and messaging handles. I'm not sure exactly what that means, and private browsers. But then there's the $9.99 a year plan, $9.99 a year plan, where you get a phone number with 30 minutes a month and 100 text messages a month, in addition to the other things. And you get 3 virtual credit cards too that you can use. So you got kind of burner card numbers if you need to use that. But for $10 a year, that's not a bad idea. So I'll throw that out there. Kiwi Graham points out that Skype is, if you have Microsoft 365, you get 60 minutes of Skype included per month, which could be the magic answer here. But I think that's only outbound calling. I don't think you get a phone number that you can receive texts or messages to with that. I could be wrong, but I think that costs a little bit extra with Skype to have an actual inbound phone number. Because we did it with...
Oh, right. Right. I thought you were talking about with MySudo.
Oh, but no. Yeah, with MySudo, it's part and parcel of this $10 a year thing. Yeah.
Yeah, so, you have to pay extra for a Skype phone number. I've done it before.
Yeah, we did it. Our Mac Geek Gab number was a Skype number for quite some time.
206-666-GEEK.
That's not what it is anymore. That was through through K7.
Okay.
The phone number now is 224-888-GEEK, and you can leave us a message there. That's a Google Voice number. Yeah. Yeah, but K7, I think K7 still works if you didn't let it expire, which evidently I did. So, yeah, that's on me. But yeah.
So don't call that poor person and ask them if they're geeking out or not.
You could. Yeah, probably don't, though. Just call us. It's fine. It's much better. Yeah. So, yeah, hopefully that helps. And this is an interesting thing. Like my daughter, for example, Google Voice would be the other thing to use. Mm-hmm. I mean, here we are. Like, why not? You can get a free Google Voice number.
Just mentioned it and didn't realize we had. Yeah,
you can send and receive texts for free. If you need to make a phone call, I believe you need to buy minutes, I think. But
I think you're right, but I don't think you need it to receive.
That may be true. Yeah. So Google Voice might be like the top answer here. Like my daughter, when she moved to Italy, she did not need her US phone service anymore for obvious reasons. She has, service that she pays like, €4 for hundreds of gigabytes or something over there. But I was like, wait, we should preserve your phone number in case you get like two-factor text messages to it or whatever. Like you don't want to give up this number that you've had for a decade. And so we just ported the number into Google Voice. It cost to port a number in costs $20. Google Voice charges for that. But to just get a new number costs nothing. You just go and sign up for a number and they'll give you a number. And I think you can even sort of pick your number. Like we were able to pick one that ended in 4335 so that we could have it ending in geek. But Google Voice. But I
also presume that she then forwarded that Google Voice number to her cell phone in Italy.
No, she didn't bother. She just lets the voicemail come in. She gets an email about it, obviously.
Okay.
Yeah, but she could have.
Her friends locally could call her still for no charge.
Yeah, right. I mean, they FaceTime her or whatever.
Yeah. So that's true. Yeah, you know what? Kids don't use phones.
No, not that way. No. Correct. Yeah. Yes, Kiwi Graham, I believe Google Voice is only for the U.S., but once you have a U.S. number, you can use it elsewhere. So, yeah. All right. Where are we here? Maybe we do some cool stuff found, Pete, and see
we could do that.
See where we wind up. We
have the technology.
I have one that I'm really stoked about. It is from the folks at SmartTrack, and it is the cable Wrangler, which is it's. I've used things like this, and now they have the bigger cable Wrangler, which is even bigger. What it is something that sits either on your desk or your bedside table or wherever you might have a slew of cables. And it is like we've talked about things like this before. This one's heavy enough. You don't need to use like sticky pads or anything. It sits there and it is magnetic on the top, and you just drop your cable down onto it and your cable stays there until you grab it. So your cable's not falling down behind the bedside table or behind your desk, and you don't have to do that hang under the back from remover, or maneuver to get it up back on there or whatever.
At 2:30 in the morning.
At 2:30 in the morning. And it comes with a couple of these like these little clips that you can put magnetic clips that you can put on cables that don't have enough metal to stick to the, to be magnetically attracted to the pad. And of course you can get more of them, but it works with most of my cables. I think I had one cable that did not work. And so I put the little magnetic clip on it, and it works out great. They also have the bigger cable Wrangler is the new thing. They also have cables, just cables on their own that they call the Crown Joule. And they come in a variety of different things, but there's one that is the Crown Joule. It's USB-A on one end, and they call it universal on the other. It's USB-C, Lightning, and micro USB. So it's super handy. I'm a fan of the Crown Joule. Next to my bed, and when I travel, I like to have one sort of 3-in-1 cable with me, because that way I always have the ability to charge that, like, I need to charge this thing that's, micro USB. Fine. All right. So I have that cable, and it's like, great, but I don't have to carry an extra cable. I don't have to have an extra cable by my bed for the 3 times a year now that I need to use micro USB or whatever. But yeah, it's nice. So highly recommend that. I've been very happy with it, checking it out for the last couple of weeks. So
nice.
Yep. Pete, I have another audio experiment, but it's in the form of a cool stuff found that listener Aaron sent to us. It is called the Ultimate Vocal Remover. And this is it's an open source thing. It's available. You download it from GitHub. I believe it's cross-platform for everything. I obviously downloaded it for the Mac, and they have separate builds for Apple Silicon versus Intel. They have Linux. I believe they have a Windows version. Yes. And it takes an audio file, like a piece of music, and it splits it creates 2 files from that, one that only has the instruments and one that only has the vocals, and it preserves all the reverb on the vocals and everything. So I played with it, and here is a sample of basically the same segment of a Fling song called Botched Amalgamations. It's on our new EP called Uncorked. And so I will play the original of this segment. It's got some harmonies, so it's like the verse going into the final chorus. And then I'll play the 2 split outs. So let's see where we go with this.
Ain't got no friends and no relations, like I've been led astray.
All right, so that's as we mixed it. Here it is with just the instruments. It's amazing. It's like we just muted the vocals. Like it just took it out. This took it took 2 minutes and 18 seconds for this app on my M1 Air to split this 5-minute song apart. And now here's the vocals.
Took a look around and wouldn't you know she left me in the dust. Ain't got no friends and no relations, like I've been led astray.
If you listen deep in the background,
I heard Dave singing back there.
Oh yeah, you hear Dave singing the harmony. That's correct. Yeah. That's Jamie Bradley singing the lead on that one. I was singing the harmony. But if you listen in the background, you will hear, we had a horn section that played on this song for us, and you hear the trombone. And it's not surprising that you hear this very faint trombone, because a trombone was built to mimic, to instrumentally mimic the human voice. Correct.
Yeah.
And so it doesn't surprise me that the algorithm doesn't entirely split that out. I mean, it's buried, like you can barely hear it, but it is there. And I've done it with other songs since I created these files where it like the vocals are just alone. It's a pretty cool thing. Thanks for sharing that, Aaron. It's
so my
free.
question, in recording, typically when you do the master, the vocals are on a separate track and the instrumentals are on a track. And in fact, some of the instruments are on many different tracks. But this was one track, and this software pulled it all apart.
Correct. This was the final mix.
Eye-watering.
Yeah, I mean, right. I happen to have all of the tracks for that particular song, but you could do this with any song that you have, a WAV file or an MP3 file or whatever for. You just put it in. So I took the final stereo master, the file that we it was done, and we sent to Apple Music and Spotify and all of those things. That's the file that I just chopped apart because I knew where it was. It was like, what other files do I have? I have that. I knew I had it because I created it. So
yeah. So I'm pretty sure we chatted briefly about this. I see 2 new uses for it. Karaoke is going to be a huge resurgence.
Yep.
Because now you've got your instrumental and you sing along. And if you put that vocal track in the headset, then someone can use it as a guide or a learning track to sing along, to make sure they sing on key. People like me who don't sing on key all the time.
Sure.
Would have a better ability to stay on key when I'm hearing somebody else sing it in my ear. Just
that's
match.
fair. Yeah. I like it because, and there are apps that'll do this too, but I like it because it allows me to hear the vocal melody and the harmonies without the instruments obscuring it. Because a lot of times you will intentionally, put the harmonies in the background, right? And it's like, well, if I need to learn the harmonies on a particular song, and I did, there was a part, I didn't play it on this song, where Aaron, another person in Fling, sang a thing, and I didn't mix that part of the song, so I didn't ever hear his soloed track. And then I did, and it was like, that's the melody you're singing? Oh, I had no idea. Okay, great. It's like, all right, cool. Yeah, because he never sings it live. So I've started singing it, and it's like, oh, I've been doing it wrong, but now I know. So,
So do harmonies come naturally to you, Dave? Can you do that? Or did you work?
I mean, they do now. I don't. They didn't always, but I spent a lot of time in college. I went to school for. I never got my degree, by the way, but I went to school for computer engineering and for music. And one of the most valuable classes I took was a harmony and theory class. I took several of them, but there was this one, and we had a sight singing lab at 8 a.m. on the other side of campus in the winter semester. Right. So, so I had to get up at 7:20 so that I could be dressed when I had to walk out the door at 7:30 to make it to this class at 8 o'clock. And then I had to sing for an hour with no accompaniment, right? And it was all just singing intervals, first, third, first, fourth, first, fifth, that kind of thing, and just learning intervals. And it was at the same time that I was also in a band where I was singing a lot of harmonies. And so having the ability to do that 3 times a week in a classroom, and then, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, 3 times a week at night on stage with a band, having a practical application of it, the combination of those two, and maybe some other factors, really cemented in my brain how to see harmonies. And so, yes, harmonies since then come fairly naturally to me. Yeah. But the way that I learn how to find harmonies in a song is I learn the lead vocal part. It's way easier for me to know where to go if I know what I'm singing to, right? If I'm, it's so, yeah.
Because I was just going to say, I'm always jealous of my sister who just could naturally sing harmonies from the time she was a little girl. She'd sing the song. Someone said, "Hey, here's what a harmony is," and she listened. And she went, "Oh, I can do that," and she just does
kidding.
it.
That's great. Yeah. I don't have perfect pitch. Perfect pitch is where somebody can play a note and you tell them, and someone with perfect pitch can say, "Oh, I know that's a B flat, and by the way, it's a little sharp," that kind of thing. Like our friend Chris Breen has perfect pitch. I am in many ways thankful I don't, because it would probably drive me a little bit crazy. Right. But I do have. I have developed very good relative pitch, meaning I know when, if somebody, is singing a note, I know where the third is, I know where the fifth is. Again, probably because of that process I went through. But I am very happy having good relative pitch and not having perfect pitch, because all I need to know is that I'm in tune with the person who's singing or playing. I don't need to know that it is in tune with, A at 440 hertz.
So that makes it sound like you're not off key if you're all singing together. If
Correct.
Someone's a little off key and you're singing it together, it sounds better.
And there are certain singers, and I will not name names ever, but there's people that I have sung with a lot throughout my life. And everybody has different tendencies. I mean, this is not going to be a great surprise, right? So there are some folks who will always sing right on key. There are some folks who will always sing a little bit flat, but not in a bad way. There are some folks who will always sing a little bit sharp, but not in a bad way. And I sometimes, yes, but whatever. I've learned that with certain people that I sing with, it's like, oh, I need to sing, because I listen to the bass when I'm singing. Yeah. The root note, of the chord, and then that's where I see the rest of the harmonies and I know what to do. But I know that if I'm singing with person A, they're going to be 10 cents sharp when they sing this chorus. And so I can't sing to the bass. I need to sing to them and blend that vocal and make it sound good. And it's going to be fine. If we're both 10 cents sharp, the harmony fits. Yeah, it's sharp from where the instruments are, but it's okay. It's within the range of acceptability. And what really is going to sound good is if we are singing together. So, and I'm not perfect either. In fact, that was the third verse into the third chorus from that song that I played. I did not segment out the first verse into the first chorus because the first harmony I sang there, we didn't catch it. I didn't notice it until we did this, but I am super sharp. I way overshot that note. I have no idea how we missed that during the recording process, but we very much did. So anyway.
And that concludes this episode of the Mac Geek Gab.
Yeah, exactly.
The Gig Gab.
No, that's right. Kiwi Graham said, "Welcome to Mac Geek Gab." Yeah, no, that's 5 minutes of that. Yeah, for sure. So let's circle back and do maybe two more cool stuffs found. The next one comes from listener Neal. We talked in the last episode about the Kickstarter project that is available for a wallet-sized FindMy card, if you will. And Neal says Eufy has a product called the SmartTrack card. For this, you set it up on your iDevice using the Eufy security app, and then it can be added to FindMy as well. And it can also trigger your phone to play a tune, just so that you can kind of find it back He says he has a little trouble with that because every time he sits down with his wallet in his back pocket, the phone thinks that it's being triggered, and so his phone makes a noise. But yeah, that's the Eufy SmartTrack card. And I found it on Amazon. I'll check the price again. Yeah, it's $20 on Amazon, at least as of the day we're recording this, $19.99 even. So not a bad little deal. Yeah.
Awesome. That is awesome because that's cheaper than an AirTag.
That's fair.
And
that's right. Yeah.
And I had the same problem with my tile though. I would always trigger my phone with my tile, my flat tile. Oh.
Yes. Yeah, the flat tile. Yeah. And then we've had this what will be the final cool stuff found around for a while. It is something that we mentioned in 859, but listener Joe brought it back. And it is a piece of software for our Macs called AlDente. And it is built for advanced or enhanced battery management on our Macs. It's the they call it the all-in-one charge limiter app for MacBooks, and it will stop your Mac from charging at different points just to keep your battery sort of conditioned. I am not sure. I don't leave my laptop plugged in all the time these days like I have, so I don't know how necessary this is. Certainly in the old days, something like this was absolutely necessary. Apple's battery technology, the physical technology has gotten better. The software that's in macOS has also gotten better. But there are a lot of folks out there, including listener Joe, who swear by using this app. And I certainly have tried it. I don't think it's going to do anything bad for your Mac. So like if you are someone who winds up plugging your Mac laptop in more often than not, then this might be a this might be a good thing to have. I'm looking at what Joe said. He says, we know that Apple's tech in this regard is lacking. And he says you can drag a slider to adjust the battery state of charge. It also has a button to quickly top the battery up when you know you will be taking it off the charger. There are all kinds of settings, but the last one he wants to mention is the task of calibrating the battery, and he runs that monthly. So there you go. Yep. So,
what's the? Can you see the price on that, Dave? Because there's a free and a pro version.
Yeah, good question. There is so free has the charge limiter and a discharge, and then for $10.59, which it says is a subscription license, so maybe that's annually. So it's $10.59 a year or $22.29 lifetime. You get to do all the other things, which include automatic discharge, heat protection. You can control the MagSafe LED.
Ooh, that's
that
cool.
might be worth the price of admission alone if you're in your bedroom, right?
Yeah.
You know, like you don't want that bright light on. Okay. There's shortcut support, calibration mode, live status icons, and email support. So yeah, so if you're going to use this, the either the subscription or the lifetime license is short money. So yeah, good question, Pete. Thank you for bringing us there. Yeah, man. And that does bring us to where we need to finally end things. Why?
To be for this week.
Yeah, what's going on here? Why?
Uh-oh.
That was weird.
Is the band on strike?
Yeah,
there they come.
Yeah, maybe I was singing out of tune too much.
Right? We're not playing.
Yeah.
Or maybe you stripped the band out of the vocal track here. I don't know.
Maybe it was just the vocal track of the instrumental. Yeah. Do I have? No, I don't have that thing on there because there are plugins and stuff that will do this. And so, yeah. Yep. Thanks for hanging out with us again. As always, folks, we love that we get to do this, and it really means a lot to us. So,
absolutely. Having
fun
a ball.
Stuff.
And can I say a personal point of privilege? Thank you for all the nice comments from all the listeners. I've gotten a bunch of comments this week that people are glad I'm here and doing the show with you, and it warms my heart, and I'm thrilled to do it. So thank you, everyone.
Yeah, man. Yeah. No, your role on this show, your most important role on this show is exactly what you just, it was exemplified by what you just did. Well, we were talking about AlDente, where you asked about the price. You playing and representing the listener to make sure that the things that we might miss, and of course, we do this for each other for sure, But you really brought that to this show when you first joined, was that concept of, hey, wait. You just glossed over something real fast. What's that again? Explain that a better way. And I know everyone appreciates it as much as I do. And I also know that you, especially over time, we always say, you don't have to be a geek to listen, but if you listen long enough, you will become one. And I think you also exemplify that too. So, which is a great thing. Now I are one. Yeah, it's a great thing. Yeah. So
it's been a fun ride, and I hope to keep riding for quite a while.
Keep riding. We 18 years now, right? Now we're into our 19th year. This is the first episode of our 19th year. So yeah.
The show is old enough to vote.
It is old enough to vote. I wonder what it cares about. What are the important issues? I'm thinking maybe
make America great Britain again.
I'm thinking that might be a good discussion to have at MacStock. Now that the show's old enough to vote, what are the issues, the tech issues that are important?
Oh, there you go.
To us?
Tech issues, not political.
Right. We avoid politics here. Yeah, we are apolitical. I'm always thinking about Lowell George's famous song, Apolitical Blues, which is a great tune. And if you want to really nerd out, because we already did the nerding on music thing, that song has two grooves going simultaneously. It's like this bump, like this bump and grind kind of blues thing. And then there's a halftime and a double time groove going on at the same time. It's brilliant. You don't hear it. It's just a great song. It's just a great song. But you can dig in. So we have cookies, Tia and Papa. Absolutely. Thanks for hanging out with us. Thanks for sending in all of your stuff. Thanks for listening. If you aren't subscribed, please subscribe. That way you'll get the new ones. And if you aren't subscribed to our email, which you can do at macgeekgab.com, go do that too, because that way you get the show notes with all the links to all the things that we mention and some notes and tips and stuff right there in the show notes. They are sent every single week. We are happy to be able to do that, and we're happy to have you. So, thanks for hanging out. Thanks to our sponsors, of course, piavpn.com/MGG and Kolide.com/MGG. Of course, you can see all the current sponsors at macgeekgab.com/sponsors, but you also get any deals that have ever been available to you, even if the people aren't sponsors anymore. We keep those alive so that you get the discount. Pete, I've been here looking at your shirt, and it inspires me because I think it's important that we share a lot of specific sort of nitpicky advice and answers on this. But if you were to have sort of one piece, perhaps the very best piece of general advice that one human could give to another, what would that be?
Well, fortunately, I don't have my camera in mirror mode, so I'm not trying to read backwards. I can see it right on my own monitor. The front of my shirt has that advice for the world to see. So until next week, everybody, don't get caught.
Made on a Mac.
Later.